Awesome. I think let's get started. I'll just do a brief introduction and we'll uh, talk to you about the three new updates that we're really excited to share that are all API first and will help you as you scale your operations. My name is Don. I'm a product marketing manager here at Point One, and I do all things webinars, case studies, and customer marketing. David, over to you.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm David Fangs, field application engineer for Point One. Been Point One for about a year, and but I've been GNSS space for about a decade. So yeah, really excited here to talk to you guys about these new features.
Thanks, David. And just a reminder, we will take questions at the end of the webinar, so please throw them in the chat or in the Q&A, and then we will definitely answer them right at the end of our presentation. Also, stick around. We're going to do a live demo of some of these features, which is super exciting. That being said, David, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of give us a brief introduction to the three new features that we're releasing shortly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like Don said, these are all API first. So we're not just a Ntrip company that serves corrections, but these are really features that are really going to help, customers scale. So first one I want to talk about is device profiles. So this is a way to create profiles that can be set to like a number of devices, and the point of it is that it gives the user or the OEM really precise control of what data we are sending from our service. So what corrections for like what satellite, at what rate, things like that. The next feature we're going to talk about is station status. So this is just transparency on our network. So we have a global network of base stations, and we want to provide that status, the location of those base stations and the status of those base stations to all of our customers. And the last one is license management system. So this is a really killer new feature that's really going to help people scale up into, as high as they can go as far as like as many devices they need for their system. It just creates a system where it allows the OEM as well as their customers to really fine tune, when subscriptions start, how it auto renews, and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Yeah, and just a little more context on why we're launching these three new features. Can you just say like a sentence or two on why these are coming down the pipe now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all about giving people control when they scale. So, device profiles is super cool. It's like if you're worried about device data rates and cellular, you're working on a cellular connection, and that cost is like important to you. This is really going to give you a way to help with that. Again, the station status is really just giving the users transparency on what's going on in our network, so that you have visibility into what we see at that moment. And for license management, it's just really about um, just ease of use for creating subscriptions and auto renewing.
Awesome. Thank you, David. All right, let's jump into these features and kind of go a little layer deeper. So we'll start with device profiles first.
Yeah, so device profiles is super cool. This is really a mechanism that's going to enable a whole bunch of new features down the road, not just the ones I'm just talking about today. There's already a whole bunch of features that we're thinking about that will all, be extended by this device profiles mechanism. But what's already available starting today is dynamic data rates. So in a lot of applications, you're using cellular to connect to our service, you're pulling down data, and generally those connections are like metered, or you have to pay by gigabyte. This is going to give the users an opportunity to select dynamically while the devices are connected, at what rate they get that information at, whether it's 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds. Um, and I think you can sort of think about like in a state where you want to put a lawnmower in a charging, it's in its charging dock, but you want it to keep an RTK fix, right? That way, when the user wants to go mow his lawn, his her lawn, it'll be ready to go. You don't have to, have that whole like time to first fix time where, it could take time to fix depending on environment. It'll just be ready to go. So maybe during those charging times, you can set it to like 5 seconds, right? And that'll give it enough data to stay in that fixed state. But when it's ready to mow, you can change that profile to a different profile that's like 1 second and you get all the signals and it's ready to go with all the information it needs to operate at peak performance. The second part to this is a flexible signal configuration. That sort of goes hand in hand with the dynamic data rates. It allows you to select exact signals you want, whether it's L1, L2, L1, L5, or all bands. So by default, we send everything at 1 hertz and everything that base station sees. But let's say you are using like a particular receiver that only supports L1, L5. In that case, there's no reason to collect that L2 signal data. That's just extra bandwidth that's being used. So you could set a profile that's only L1, L5 or L1, L2. Um, and the way this really is going to work is you're going to be able to create profiles and then set that profile to multiple devices. So you don't have to set, each individual device. You could just do like a profile that's called like lawnmowers charging and then set like all your currently charging lawnmowers to that profile. And you could do this dynamically while the device is connected, which is like super cool. Um, the last feature is coming out at the end of this year. It's one that it's been requested by a few folks, but that's going to allow the user to connect to a single endpoint and get the benefits of both true RTK and virtual RTK. So if you are a car or truck that's going along interstates and you want the highest precision available to you when you're within a certain distance of a base station, and that's settable by the user through device profiles, you'll be connected to TrueRTK. But once you go beyond that user settable like distance, it'll automatically transition you to a virtual RTK, which is broader coverage availability.
Super cool. Yeah, and we already have customers using this in the field, right, David?
Yeah, I definitely have a bunch of customers testing out the device profiles for sure. Yeah, we've exposed this to a few OEMs already.
Awesome. Super cool to have that flexibility of rates and signals for whatever use case. Sweet. Let's go on to the next one. Let's talk a little bit about the license management system.
Yeah, LMS is super cool. This is a feature that's really gonna allow not just, just starting and auto renewing of subscriptions, but it's going to enable a lot of transparency. So we get this question a lot. It's like, how do I know when my device's subscription is going to expire? Well, that's all going to be available here. So currently, we already have this notion of device objects. I think anybody that uses our system knows that when you create a new device, a new robot, a new lawnmower, a new vehicle, you create a device in our API or web app, and that has a set of credentials. LMS is going to introduce a new object called licenses and associated queries and mutations with that. And the license object is going to dictate, when that subscription started and ends, its terms, as well as what we're going to call entitlements. Entitlements are just what is allowed for that particular license to access a particular service on our system, whether it's true RTK or virtual RTK, or potentially down the road, other services that we'll provide. So in the future, a pairing of devices and a device and a license will then allow that particular device to access a service for a certain amount of time. So this is really cool because you can create a device in the factory and already have those credentials available. ship that robot to your customer with whatever it is, like lawnmower, and the moment they open your app to and say, I want to start mowing or I want to start, whatever it is, you can create the license dynamically at that time and then attach that license to the device and they'll be ready to go. And along with that, you'll be able to query that license object just to know when it ends. And then you'll also be able to select whether you want it to auto renew and what it will auto renew into, whether it's like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, it's up to you.
Super, super cool. So basically, customers don't have to enter in Ntrip credentials. You can just have it provisioned either at the factory or at the point of initiation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's up to you when you want to create these licenses. Device will, can already be in the consumer's hand. So it's very flexible.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk about the last feature that we have coming up.
Yeah, station stats really cool, and Don's going to go through a really neat demo on this. But this is going to give you insight about our entire network. So we have a global network of base stations that we deliver corrections from. Um, and this system is really going to allow the user to understand the exact status of those base stations in real time, whether it's up, down. Hopefully it's not down, but occasionally we'll have one that goes down for a little bit. You'll be able to see that. All this is already available in the API, but so we're going to be rolling this out in a web app as well too, so it's easy to for your support folks to be able to look at that in real time. You'll be able to also query our API based on like a point location. So let's say I'm looking for coverage, I'm expanding my service into like San Diego, California. Let me see like if I have service there. You'll be able to query our API beforehand to let you know, inform you of where the closest base stations are, how far they are, and things like that. Along with that, we're gonna have even down to like the nitty-gritty details of what kind of signals this space station outputs, and that's all going to be available. So, in my mind, this is just super transparent, really cool, great way for people to look up, what's available on our network.
Yeah, and as David mentioned, this is going to be available in two ways, either via query on API and also through an actual interface, which I'm going to demo. But I just want to call out that this is still in beta, so it'll be released very soon, but we're just giving you kind of a sneak peek. And I'm just gonna pull that up right now.
Yeah, like Don said, some of the signals and things like that, they're all hard coded in this beta. So don't take notice on those, but in the real version, when it does get released, it will certainly be real data for sure.
So I'm just loading up my beta account here, and this is what the station's status will look like. So as you can see, there's some active base stations. There's also virtual RTK, and we can actually search by location or zip code. So I'm just going to type in Steve. You're from Raleigh, so we'll go to Raleigh and see what Raleigh looks like. Raleigh, sorry. So yeah, here's kind of an area with a lot of coverage, and we can do really cool things like show the baseline from base stations, and set our preferred distance to see whether we have coverage, which is really cool. So I can go all the way out to I think 150 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and see where I get really good you know corrections data. Super
Yeah,
cool.
and sort of shows you also where if you set it to, if you want like 40 kilometers baselines and your receiver works well to that distance, you can sort of see where that sort of continuous like coverage is. So if your vehicle or your truck and you have to go across like city-state lines, you can see where all that coverage resides. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to
another
select one of the base stations.
totally. I'll select the one closest to the zip code I search for.
Yeah, so this is kind of neat, right? Like we're talking about how in the API it's real-time status. So you see that status, up, let's say either up, down, maintenance. These are sort of three statuses we're going to expose to the user. It'll have some uptime data here as well too. Again, this is all beta, so like all the signal data and uptime data is just sort of like hard coded in this example. But when we deploy this into production, it's all going to be real data. Um, yeah, Don, if you scroll down a little bit, I'll just show you the RTCM station ID that will correspond to the ID that you'll see on your RTCM stream. So if you're having any kind of issues, you could sort of work backwards from that stream and be able to tell if you're connected to this particular base station by that station ID. And then also at the bottom, there's the location of the base station as well too. So that's all available to the user.
Super cool. I love playing around with all the layers too. Like we can turn off virtual RTK and look at the local datums. So there's a ton of options here for understanding where your data is coming from and how to control it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, you can see the datums in the upper right, the little legend there. So if you like
Yeah,
scroll out, see the world, it'll show more.
super cool.
Yeah, I think somebody just asked about Australia, so we can go over to Australia. We want to just
Let- Let's do it.
yeah, there you go. So GDA 2020.
Yeah, New Zealand has their own datum too. That's awesome. Yeah, and we can click on base station in Australia and see um, all the same information that we saw in the States. Awesome. I'm gonna let you take over, David, and show us some real world examples of querying the API for device profiles and LMS as well.
Sweet. Let me share my screen.
And just a reminder, this is still in beta, but it
Oops.
will be available to all customers very soon. And we will make sure that we send out an email blast. So look out for that when it comes online.
All right. Don, are you seeing my screen?
I am, yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And so I'll demonstrate device profiles first to show you how easy it is. Currently, I'm using a tool called Postman, which is a really cool like API demonstrator, creator, tester kind of platform. And so I'll just be using this as a tool to send in commands. Our API is built on GraphQL. I think maybe a lot of our audience knows that already, but just want to put that out there. It's super cool API that allows users to select exactly what kind of information they want to see all in one query, so they don't have to do like several queries that would be required in a REST API type system. Um, so in this one, I'll go back to that charging lawnmower type scenario where this particular lawnmower is in the charging base. So I don't need all that data coming down, but I do want to keep it an RTK fix. So what I want to do here is I'm going to give it a profile name, and then I'm going to tell this profile that I want observations updates at 3 seconds instead of default 1 second. And then along with that, I'm gonna say I don't need all the signals and constellations in the state, so I'm just gonna limit it to L1, L2, GPS, and GLONASS. So that's what I've done here. Selected GPS L1, L2, and GLONASS L1, L2. So I'm gonna go ahead and query this. That'll send me in a mutation that'll create me a new profile. That profile has a new ID that's 21. And then I'm going to start this little demonstrator app. Um, Shout out to Mike Kurtzel for creating this. And so by default, hopefully you guys can see this, but I'm getting observation updates once every second, and I'm getting all the signals and constellations for this particular location. Now I'm going to set this sort of fake lawnmower device to that charging profile. And once I do that, you'll see the update rate slow from 1 second to 3 seconds, as well as the types of signals limit to only GPS and GLONASS. So hopefully you can see that. You can see the update rate really slowed down. And what was available before, the BDS, the Beta, B1, B2A, and Galileo are now limited. And so in this charging mode, hopefully this lawnmower will continue staying in this fix in this mode. And then once the user wants to go back to lawn mowing and sort of high peak performance mode, we can just unset that profile dynamically and it'll go back to 1 second updates and all the signals.
Super cool.
Yeah. I'll kill that and then I'll move on to our next demo. So for LMS, I will not query license types, but there will be license types like loaded to each account. So it just depends on like what the contract states out for. So if 1 year, 3 year, 5 year true RTK is available to you, those license types will all be loaded to your account, and you can use them, create licenses based on those types. But what I'll show here is a simple mutation just to create a 1 year license. And so what I have here is a create licenses mutation. What I'll give it is a license type. This license type corresponds to a 1 year true RTK license. You can create a whole number of licenses at the same time if you choose to do so. And then I will select in that query what I want to see with it. So I want to see what device is associated with it. Since it's a new license, it won't have any device associated with it, but I want to see the current license type that's created. I also want to see the renewal license type, start date, end date, and what its auto renewal status is. So I will go ahead and send in this query. And this is the result here. So this every license has a unique ID, so it's identifiable. It's got start date and end date. This is a 1 year license, so it ends 1 year from now. By default, they will all auto renew to true. However, there are mutations that you can use to change that to false if you don't want auto renewal. It's just another mutation query. And it has the current license type. So this particular one is true RTK for 1 year. It has all the entitlements that this license can have access to. So TrueRTK currently, if you have a license to TrueRTK, you can also access virtual as well too. So both of those entitlements are available. And then auto renewal license type here is null, but it will, if it's null, it will just auto renew to the same type. That's also changeable though. Like if your contract states that you can do 1, 3, and 5 years, you can choose to change your auto renew to like a 3 or 5 year if you want after that first 1 year. And so that's the demo on that.
Super cool. So it's basically like a full life cycle management of licenses for your end customers with really, really simple queries.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the transparency involved as well.
Awesome. It's cool to see it in motion too. Thank you for sharing those queries and the demo with us, David.
Cool. I'll
Yeah,
stop
so
sharing.
yeah, I think we should open it up to questions people have. I see a lot in the chat. We should try to answer some of them. One thing I also really want to encourage people to do is if they have really specific or niche questions, I encourage you to book a technical session with us. I put the link in the chat there as well. But please reach out to us, and we love hearing what you're working on or what you're hoping to accomplish. And we have really smart people who can help you make that happen. So if we don't get to your question here, make sure to reach out to us via that link in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing a question from Frank for you, David. If a base station goes down, will signal be transferred to another base station for true RTK?
Yeah, yeah. So in the true RTK mode, We automatically select the closest base to you based on what's available. So in the case that your closest base goes down, hopefully it doesn't, but we will automatically switch you over to that next closest base station.
Awesome. Yeah, super sweet. What I see another question here. How can we limit the distance from the antenna? I'm assuming to the like nearest base station.
So I think in this case, if you only want data from let's say like 50 kilometers further than the closest base station, I'm sorry, is the question like a specific base station or?
My assumption is that they want to limit the distance that the antenna uses to the base station, maybe to like 20 kilometers or 40 kilometers, as opposed to like a standard
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
distance.
Yeah, we will have a particular field in the device profiles that will allow the user to set the max base station distance from them. And if they go beyond that distance, then it'll stop outputting. Hopefully, with the density of our network, that'll never be the case anyway. But certainly, there's some areas out in like Nevada and in the cornfields that maybe not be totally covered at this point in time. Um, so that will be user settable, and that's also going to be released with device profiles.
Nice. And we had some geographic specific questions. I know we were showing mostly the US, but there was a question about Australia, about Germany. Where will uh, where will all of these updates be available?
Yeah, these features are available through our API, like wherever you are. So it's sort of um, I guess with the exception of virtual RTK, which currently is limited to the CONUS or continental USA and Europe. But the rest of the features are all going to be, as far as like the status, base station status, and everything, that's going to be available worldwide.
Awesome. Got a very specific question about base stations. How quickly do new base stations reflect on the map and network?
Yeah, so as soon as that base station is available for our customers to use, it'll be available on the API as well as on the map.
Yeah, and that map is real-time coverage, right? So it shows if there's up, down, or under maintenance.
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. What are the key limitations of densifying coverage of base stations? This is a good question.
So the key limitations of expanding our coverage is is probably real estate. But that is a really good question. And I should point out that we have we currently work with real estate providers to expand our network. That's the core like first step we take in expanding our network. We take a lot of feedback from our customers. So if there is like a particular place you need a base station, I think we had a customer ask us like just last week, can we place a base station in South Carolina? And this week we already have one up. So we have real estate partners that have a lot of real estate, and it's just a matter of knowing where customers need that and putting that up. But we also have an on-demand base station program, and that's one where they can request coverage. And if they want us to host it on our real estate, we can look for that. It sometimes takes some time to do that. But two, the second opportunity is if they have a good real estate, like a building available, that they can place a base station on, we can send a base station out to them. They can hook it up to Ethernet or sell, and then it can be placed on our base station in a matter of, a few days.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's what leads to us having one of the densest networks in the world. Definitely the densest professionally managed network in the world. Great question, Craig. Thank you. Awesome. I'm not seeing too many other burning questions, but if you have one that you don't feel like was answered, or if you have a really specific question about your use case, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to hear what you got going on and help you out and with a technical sales engineer like David to get you centimeter accurate.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.